Gonna start recording. Good job. One more. James.
Yes, Yosef Adonai Leherao Beshilo.
Okay. So, I think it's not really something new. We are going to talk about this first verb. I don't know if we have memorized this word. Yashaf. Have you memorized?
Add,
Yeah.
add.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. To add or continue, right? Have you memorized? Okay. So this word can be normally used as an idiomatic expressions together with the other verbs. So that's another thing. But it's not really new stuff to learn about. And we are going to talk about this one too. Okay, what can you see? If you can successfully recognize this one, then we are done today. What is this? What is your analysis?
Ra.
Okay, someone say la. What about stem? I think this is what we studied yesterday.
Default.
Depart in
Right.
infinitive.
Defy,
Infinitive
because of,
construct.
yes, because of hair, it is meant to be he, and it's quite strange that we have sere under the hair. And what is going on here is that it is meant to be he, and then the assimilation of the nifal, preformative. So since we have resh in the beginning, the dageshi cannot come. So there is a compensation. So ire became tere. That's how it works. So when is that then? The nifal stem can take preformative he in the beginning. I need to say he and together with dagesh purte. You just consider as if you have he and dagesh assimilation. When is the case for nifal to have those things? And some of you recognize that this one has something to do with imperative and infinitive construct. So now, thank God for the presence of preposition le. So this one must be infinitive construct because infinitive construct form can only come with a preposition, right? So then this one, okay, come on. So this one is defy and infinitive construct. What about then PGN?
No PGN.
Right? None. Special picture.
Le proposition.
Lamed preposition.
Le proposition.
Right? Ramed preposition. Someone, somebody maybe. I mean, some of you may be easily tempted to put hair in the beginning, right? But no, you cannot do that. So then, meaning, what is the meaning of la a in the car stem? To
To
see.
see.
All right, good job. I brought to your friend to see. And then, what about the meaning of nifa?
To be seen. To appear.
Right. So the passive voice is to be seen, but in a sense of God's action, it theologically somehow not really recommendable that God appears as a passive figure. So it changes to another active voice, but carrying the same idea. of being seen. So appear. So to appear. Okay, so don't forget to put to. All right, so the reason why I said yashap is normally used together with another verb because as you said, yashap means add or continue. So let us just choose the meaning of continuing. Then what is the analysis of this one? As you say, this is the yashap. What about stem? Anything? Okay, just let's just stop here. Let's just continue to move on. But anyway, we will just deal with this one. Let's do this. Um, Romero, could you read, please?
Yes, this word cannot be a noun because it begins with the verb conversive. The holem defectiva in this word, yes, is more commonly written pleni holem and represents the first root letter. Yes, means add, continue, do again, and is used most often in the Hebrew stem. Yes, is almost always to be translated in coordination with another verb, either conjugated or in infinitive form. Do, again, continue to do. Open and close parenthesis. I think you're muted, sir.
Sorry. Okay. All right. So do you have any question regarding the explanation here? If you don't have, all right, then can you just analyze this? I will give you 1 minute by yourself. Okay. Do it right now. You need to think about the presence of Holland, and you are allowed to use your verb chart. Then what do you need to look at? You need to go to part for first root verb. Okay. Stephen,
Yes. Uh,
stem,
this stand is Ethiopia
stop. Why do you think this is he feel?
because the second slide said that it's usually in
Sorry?
and the Holland The Holland and
Yes,
the second
Holem.
root letter.
So actually, it's meant to be Holem planet, but we use the Holem defectiva, and they can be interchangeably used. So expecting Holem. Uh, for the first yod verb in the Hebrew stem, we expect Holem plane. Are you familiar with this? If you want to double check, please look at your verb chart and then go to the first yod verb and then check Hebrew part. And in fact, Holem, wait, let me tell you. Holem, and then if you have, okay, because the first yod verb, I mean for the first yod, consonant will be replaced by Holem plane. So when it comes to the second and third, and we are supposed to have hirek yod in between second and third. But when this one is coming together with Vav, let's say Vav conversive, then it affects it. So this hirek yod becomes one dot or two dot or three dot. And this is what we have recognized, noticed before. So having this segol under the second root letter indicates the shortening that takes place because of verb converse. So hirek yod became sere, I mean segol. Okay, so now you can see how it works. Let me show you the verb chart. Okay, let's go to our verb chart. Come on. Okay, page. Hello, Bob. First noon. Okay, first yod. Okay, here. So for the prefix form, we're going to have prefix pronoun in the beginning. And as you can see that the yod is replaced by Holland plane. And we are expecting hirek yod. Okay. Most of the time, not all the time, except 3 FPL and 2 FPL. So this one is without verb conversive. So if we want to see what will happen when the construction of verb conversive comes, just go down and you see this one. So as you can see that verb conversive and Holem, Lene, and Kirang Yod became Sego. So it's identical. So now we can say that this, let me see. Let's go back to the lesson. It must be he feels them. Okay, so then go ahead, Stephen.
This prefix,
Prefix.
3 MSG,
Okay, 3 MSG.
specifically verb conversive,
Verb conversive. Meaning.
and is to and he 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 feels calls to act.
Okay, so you wanna just add this causative meaning, but in case of the word yashab, actually it has the same meaning in the Hebrew stem as well. So you don't need to really emphasize the causative meaning. So simply use the meaning of to add or to continue. Okay, so there are some words that work that way. So I told you having a verb used in a specific stem like PL and he feel when he felt, then the expectation is we want to see the certain nuance of those specific stems meaning, but it's not always happening that way. Okay, so in this case you can simply add the meaning of yasha, which is to add or to continue. So you're right, and he added, or and he continued. So we are done with this. Continue for what? To appear. Okay, so that's why we have infinitive construct here. To appear. Is that clear? Okay, so then who is the main figure acting here? The subject? Adonai. Yes, Albert, you're right. Uh, so, and the Lord continued to appear. And this one is a combination between Silo and preposition be. So it refers to a region. So it is called a Shiloh. Is it Shiloh or Shiloh in English? Pierce, can you help?
Um, Probably say Shiloh.
Shiloh, okay. So in Shiloh. So that the literal translation is, and the Lord added or continued to appear in Shiloh. Okay, that's it. Then let's move on. Oh, do you have any question? We are done. So quick. It's a world record. Should be written in a Guinness book. Um, if you don't have any question, Pastor, Teacher Alabaya, you want to give them an assignment as I wish to move on to lesson 51?
Yeah, we will do from page 221, number 1, number 2, and number 4.
Okay, that's good. Just the three is enough then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so there will be maybe a couple of more for the next lesson. Okay, let's move on then. Lesson 51. Okay, let's read it. Kanae.
Anasab et har she seir yamim rabim.
Okay, so today we are going to talk about germinate, germinate verbs. So we didn't really haven't talked about this specific week verb. But what do we mean by germinate verbs? If you look at your verb chart, and germinate verbs refer to the verbs that have two identical uh, root letters. So like this one, excuse me, it is actually sa ba. Okay, so as you can see that the second and the third root letters are identical, the same root letter. So it's not really common, but it happens that way sometimes. And those words should be okay. Should be treated separately and specially. So in terms of all the indicators of different forms and then stems, it'll take its own unique pattern. It has its own pattern. So we need to understand what kind of things, can be expected as the indicators of prefix form, affix form, infinitive, constant, imperative. So that's the thing that we need to study. But I think since this type of germinative verbs are not really common, well, It's not really a big deal, but at least I want you to be familiar with all those things. I'm not really requesting you to memorize everything, but try to be familiar with all those indicators. Okay. So then now, what can you see here? I think it's proper for us to just to go directly go to the verb chart and then talk about it. Okay. Let's just go to our verb chart. Let's do it this way. If you have your verb chart with you right now, please go to, I think, one of the last page. Okay. After hello verb, page 442. Okay, let's talk about our fixed form first. We have our fixed form, and then this one is called, and this is nifal. So talking about kal, we can expect that it's kaal. So the what is most expected about points are there, kamets and pata. So do you remember it works even for the other strong verbs? So sabab, 3 MSG, is coming together with this. And a, ta, tu, ti, et u, tem, nu. And depending on what kind of specific affix pronoun we have, it affects the preceding vowel points. But most likely we will have a sound in the beginning. But look at nifal. Of course, if we have a nifal, I mean the nifal stem, then we needed to have the preformative nun. So we have nun, but it comes with kamets and shua. Okay, so that is quite unique too. Then let's look at prefix form. What can you recognize here? As we just have dealt with it, this prefix pronoun comes with kamet, and then the last bath and bet is dropped off. So looking at this, you may be confused as if we have what? A hollow verb. Are you following me? Look at this. If you have this word, then you can be easily confused because after removing non-root letters like this, we have only two remaining letters. Then you have comments under the prefix pronoun. And this is the rule for the missing letter rule of hello verb. So there is a great similarity between a hello verb and a germinative verb in terms of the indicators. You will be able to recognize this. So if you think, okay, according to your analysis, oh, this one must be a hello verb, and you cannot find this verb in your vocabulary list or a lexicon, then try a germinate verb because of the similarity between them. Okay, that's one thing that I can highlight. And there will be another similarities between germinate verbs and hollow verbs if you pay attention to the other indicators for other forms and stems. So we are done with prefix form. So now you can see, but more confusingly, it's not going to take only this kamet. Sometimes you take the hirek or tzere form. So you need to be really flexible, okay? And in terms of the indicators of all those uh, maybe forms and stems, terminative is quite, how can I say, flexible, okay? Let me just move on to another. Okay, what do you expect when we're talking about imperative form. Uh, do you remember this one is supposed to be carrying the third component, which is bet, but it just simply drops. It simply drops bet. Uh, Talking about the indicator of first yod verb and first noon verb in the cast stem, and then for the usage of imperative, what are the indicators? It is simply drop the weak sound. Do you remember? In case of first yod verb, then you will simply drop yod to become the imperative form. Do you remember? Okay, let's go back. Even first to noon is the same. Okay, everything is mixed up and you may be confused. Okay, imperative form is here. Let me see. Where was it? Oh, no, not this one. Okay, here. First yod, page 436. Look at this imperative form for the first yod. So as you can see that the first component of the yod is dropped off. Can you see that? So the fact that it simply exclude the first yod, the weak sound, is the indicator of imperative form for the first yod verb. And I think it will also happen for the first noon verb. Let's go to first noon. As you can see here, it happens, but assimilation just takes place. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is this: when the weak sound or one of the root letter is dropped off, then you think about the possibility of imperative form. Okay, it works that way for germinate. Okay, so let's go back to germinate again. So talking about imperative form, so we simply miss one of the doubling a consonant and then think about imperative form. Praise the Lord. We have holem, 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 holem under the first two letter, and then we are losing nothing. So even the third bet, which is doubled, is still appearing. So now having a holem above first two letter is a indicator of participle form. Now let's look at this. Infinitive construct. So now you can see that imperative to MSG is identical to infinitive construct. So not all the time, but most of the time, there is a great similarity between imperative to MSG and the infinitive construct. So having the possibility of imperative to MSG, then you always need to make sure that this one is not infinitive construct. Okay. Then let's go to the Nepal part. Nepal. On the right side, we have Nepal. Then let's just do this. As you can see that we have preformative he and assimilation. So the general indicator for Nepal imperative works. Okay, we have he and then assimilation noon. And the last consonant is dropped off. All right. Anything else? Let's go back. Let me see. So now you can see it takes preformative noun and then different types of vowel pointing under it. So just try to be familiar with this. Let me move on to he feels them. Now, what can you see here in terms of preformative? Do you still remember the case that we have the preformative he, he together with zere? And then you can see the zere, 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 and this composite shua. When was that? That we have only two remaining consonant together with he and zere for the he feels them. What kind of a verb was it for? Must be a weak verb. And we have preformative he. And the thing is, we expect actually he, but why is that we have zere and composite shua? Okay, let's go back.
Hollow.
What did you say, Pierce?
Hollow verb.
Right, good job. Let me see. Right here, he feel. So once again, in terms of the indicators of germinate, it tends to follow the diagnostics or the pattern of hollow bulb. Now all the time. That's why I told you previously that there is a great similarity between the hollow bulb and germinate. Okay, so thinking like, oh, it must be hollow bulb, but you couldn't find it from the lexicon form because you need to then put either what is this shurek or holenplene or hirekyo because you think this is a hollow bulb, but you cannot see then there is another possibility like this. Then you need to double the second vowel point as the third. Okay, then you will be able to find the lexicon form. Let's move on. Okay, and then one more. As we have just dealt with the yashap, it happens here too. So not really yashap for the yashap. Okay, so this one is even following this haloba pattern. So see, comments. Kifil. But we are supposed to have, if this one is, how can I no, 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 no. Yeah, just to pay attention to as comments, pata, pata. Come on, Jun. What's wrong? Comments under the previous pronoun. Wake up, wake up. Okay. All right. And then the second is there, and the third root letter is dropped off. Let me see. All right. And then imperative, it's the same. Ha. And then even this one is the same. Participle, he feel participle will come with a preformative man. But in terms of this vowel pointing, I think this one follows the hollow verb pattern. Okay. So one more time, there is a great similarity between the hollow verb and the germinative verb. Another thing, then let's move on to hofal. Okay. We have What is this? Is it verb or shurek? It's a shurek. Okay, because we don't have a vowel point under it, right? So must be a vowel. So this one is a shurek. So now we have preformative he, and then the preformative he comes with oo sound because this oo sound belongs to same category with o. That's why it is called ho fire. And when is the case that we have who preformative who? So do you remember for the whole fire stem when we had who or what verb? Hello, Bob again. Can you see that? Hello, Bob Hofar will take who in the beginning. Okay, so let me tell you this. Okay, as we are maybe almost close to the end of these lessons, you might be confused, but as a general summary of geminate verbs, it has its own unique pattern. But generally speaking, it will follow the pattern of hollow verbs. Let's just understand that way. Okay, generally speaking. But if you think, okay, then I need to see if there is a missing letter in the middle. It should be either holem or shurek or hirekyot. And by adding those in the component, and yet you cannot still recognize the root letter, then it's possibly a germinate verb. Is that clear? So let's just do that way, okay? But make sure that if you try to find something from your verb chart, then you can find it. All right, and then one word or one root letter is missing. Then I want to always encourage you to double check the germinate part, and that's going to be a great help. Is that clear? Okay. But in terms of the general rule, it will follow the similar pattern of hello Bob. Okay, let's do this. Just going back to the germinate again, then highlight several things. Mhm. Okay, and what else? Okay, we are done with whole file. And polel, we have a polel here, and I think we haven't talked about this specific stem, but I think we need to talk about this today. Well, it's quite strange. There are other two stems that functions as same as PL. So even carrying the same idea of PL, some vocabulary can be used in a different stem like pollen or pilpel. We're going to talk about it. But if you have pollen or pilpel, then just consider it as a PL stem. Okay, so there are certain verbs that want to be appearing in the form of pollen and pilpel, but they are like PL in terms of the function. So it normally carries the intensified meaning of the verb. Okay, but in terms of the form, what is that the indicators or the vowel system, it will follow those name sounds. So you expect this is pollen. So the first vowel point should be O, okay? And then it's L. So the second vowel point is E. So O, E, right? So the names the name sound normally works that way. So pollel normally works for the germinative verb. That's why we have pollel here. Okay. And then the main function of pollel is to intensify the meaning, like PS then. So now we understand what it means by all the indicators of germinative verbs. Okay. Then let's go back to our lesson again. Lesson 51. Let's read. Romero, could you read, please?
Germinate verb. There is one type of irregular verb which has no consistent patterns, which are exclusively its own, but appears with patterns characteristics of several other verb types, especially hollows. The verb of this type do not even use the same pattern in a particular form. This type of verb has identical second and third root letters and is called a germinate twins.
Pierce, in terms of English, are you familiar with this word, germinate?
Yes.
So does it
It's
have any meaning referring to twins?
To twins. It has a meaning referring to a seed. So when you plant a seed in the soil and it germinates, the germinate is when the first little sprouts, first little leaf pops out of the seed, you know?
Okay. So the English terminology has nothing to do with the twins.
No, the only reference I can think of is the that star sign of the zodiac, Gemini, and Gemini is twins.
Okay, then I think it has something to do with that one, that idea.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the reason why we have germinate is because it refers to the English terminology of twin. So now we understand what it means by germinate verbs. Okay, then let's move on. Uh, Chumpy,
Vanasaf look as if it could be a hollow, but it is actually a Gemini. So its root is Sava. You can memorize the basic pattern. You can keep second. You can keep the possibility of a Gemini in mind when you analyze a verb according to the basic rules, but then cannot find it in the dictionary before you give up. Try a Gemini.
that's encouraging. Before you give up, try sabab or terminate. Don't give up. We have always another possibility. Don't give up and try if you have a germinative verb. All
There's a
right.
hope over there.
Okay, let's move on. So you can see, a fixed form of sabab. So we are done with this. It has its own unique, but praise the Lord, the general idea of the name R sound works for 3 MSG. And prefix form, as you can see, we have uh, the missing letter, which is the third root letter. So third root letter is missing, and it takes comet under the prefix pronoun. So in terms of the missing letter rule, you may be confused as if you have a hollow verb, but this one is a germinative verb. So you need to be familiar with this. So as I highlight 3FPL, 2FPL, we're in red, it doesn't take even comet. Quite a strange form. But my answer is don't give up and try a terminate if you don't recognize it successfully, right? And we have prefix sabab. What is it? Sabab, sabab. Let me see. Why do we have Dagesh? This one, two. Nifal. No, it's Nifal should be different. Ah, okay. Let me see. What is the reason why we have Dagesh here? Okay, now here, as you can see that this follows the general pattern for prefix form. Okay, so if you have your verb chart, then it takes it. Okay, now I can see without having any specific reason, it has its own unique pattern. So now it's not only prefix sabab, uh, stem can take this yashov. Actually, in terms of this yashov, I think we don't have any problem. But not only yashov, but you need to also pay attention to this without having even other stems like the fun. It can even take the dagesh in the middle. To be honest, I was not really familiar with this. But uh, if you look at your verb chart page 442, then it has even this form. So now I'm trying to say that even this dagesh in the first little letter can be simply used without having any other stems like nifal or hifil. There is no reason. Just I can say this terminative verb sabab takes its own unique style, even for the kal prefix form. So we have two actually. So one here and one here. So then this could be another thing that we need to remember. Okay, there is no specific reason for this terminative verb to take uh, this dagesh in the first root letter. Okay, then we can think, oh, maybe noon should be assimilated and blah, 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 blah. But there is no reason for that because it's a unique style of a terminative verb. Okay, then I can say that if you look at this, then you can probably think, oh, maybe this one is first noun verb. And okay, if you try to see if this is first noun verb, then you cannot really successfully recognize it. Then you also need to try to see if this one is a terminative word. So it's really right. If you try something, then you cannot find it as a lexical form, then don't give up. Try a terminative verb. I think I can say that. But once again, this terminate verb is not really common. So that's why if these types of verbs are really commonly used, then I will definitely ask you to memorize all those indicators. But you know, enough, enough is enough. We have dealt with a lot of indicators already, so I don't want to really give you extra burden, and it will be okay. But anyway, what are the lessons that we need to remember today? I think it's fair for us to say, mm, generally speaking, the indicators of germinative verb, four different types of forms and the stance, and it will follow hollow verb. But now the time, but it has its own unique style, a unique one. So now, the analysis of Nasab, it's a sabab, called prefix 1CPL, and verb conversive, and the meaning of sabab means is to go around. or surrounded, and we went around or surrounded. The translation. So, and we went around, and what? As you can see that this is DDO, and Haram is mount, and then Seder is a proper name, proper noun. So it refers to Seir. What does it mean? Yamim. Then in Yamim means days, and Labim, it's a Laba. But there is agreement between these two in terms of number. It's plural, feminine. So you can see that this one is modifying the preceding noun. So many days. So the literal translation is, and we went around Mount Seir for many days. Okay. And AB said, we circled around the highlands of Seir for a long time. Okay. In terms of, if we say for a long time, then it indicates the idea that it happens just once and then it goes on for a long time. It lasts for a long time. But I don't know if we can apply this idea because it says for many days. It is an one-time action, or just they go and surrounded it and came back and went there again for many days. You just figure it out. NIV, for a long time, we made our way around the hill country of Seir. All right, sounds very interesting because uh, the literal translation must be the Mount Seir. And then NIV put around the hill country of Seir. So it refers to quite a big area of a hill. I don't know. And we probably puts a little bit more further explanation or connotation. So you will see one is right. Okay, let's just talk about pollet and pipel terminates very quickly. Terminates have two equivalents of the PL. So now you can see that, okay, we have a PL. Whenever we need to intensify the cal meaning, and it's normally used in the PL stem. But for the germinate verb, then we don't use PL, but we use pollel or pilpel. So now, pollel, the pollel gets its name from the vowel pollen plane after the first two letters. That's why it is taking O sound and then should be A sound. So we have OS sound. It's pollel, but don't panic. It's just that you can treat it as a PL stem. Okay, just intensify the meaning. But one more time, do we need to always carry the specific meaning of PL? Because sometimes some vocabulary will not take the PL, which is intensified meaning, rather it's simple meaning of a card. So it depends on what vocabulary we have. But most of the time it will work. So you will always see the whole name in pollel. Okay, pilpel. The pilpel is formed by doubling the two strong consonants. So now maybe if you have sabab, then this third root letter will be dropped off, and then only the first and second root letters will be doubled like this. And then it is called pilpel. So how can it form the pilpel stem? Just what is it? Exclude the third component and then double the first and the second. So what is the most important characteristic or indicator of pilpel? Just doubling of the first and then second root letter. But it is simply called pilpel, and the function is to intensify the meaning. So these things are happening for germinate verbs. Okay. So that's why we are separately dealing with this pollel and pilpel, because they are not really applicable to other strong verbs and other weak verbs. Let's move on. So now we have an example for sabab. So this one is meant to be carrying the intensify meaning. So they will return Arab evening. And what can you see? Hamma means what? The Hama. And like a dog. This one is like a dog. And then go around. So they will return at evening and hunger. So this one must be hunger. Howl or murmur like dog. So this one is Ke and the Caleb meant to be a dog. So like a dog. And look at this. And then this means, as I said, sabab means to go around. So we cannot really see the intensified meaning of sabab. As you can see that this is a poller, but it still carries the simple meaning of car. But it is used in the poller stem to go around the city. It's not really important, but I think you need to be familiar with this indicator of pollem for pollet. Okay, in case of germinative verbs. Let's move on. Pilpel. So we have cool, and then even it can be used as a pilpel stem. So now another interesting thing is even this hollow verb can be used together with pilpel in the pilpel stem. So it's not only germinative but also hollow verb, but I think it's quite rare. But anyway, that's it. Imperative, germinative, I think we have already talked about this. So it simply drops of the third component, participle. It is taking whole lemma above the first root letter. Infinitive construct is identical to imperative form. MSG. Everything is there. We are done. I know. This terminative gives us another pain because there how can I say it? There seems to be no constant pattern. It lacks its own unique style. But praise the Lord, at least it follows the general rule of hollow verb. And then if you cannot really follow, find it as or recognize it as a hollow verb, then try uh, with a germinative verb. I can say that. And I think your vocabulary will be able to help you to recognize it, like the way it does for hollow verb. So when you are memorizing hollow verbs and or germinative verbs or weak verbs, then I always highlight the importance of uh, trying to be familiar with those strong sounds. So after removing the weak sound, because like for example, first yod verb, then the yod tends to be disappearing, and you will have only two remaining root letters. So you just delete the first yod and then try to look at the other remaining two consonants and try to be familiar with them. And what about the hollow verb? Then just to remove the second root letter and then try to be familiar with this. Like the way you can remove the third root letter of germinate and then try to be familiar with those two first the two consonant sounds. And by doing it, I think you can somehow easily recognize the presence of those verbs. So your vocabulary is important and it'll help you that way. But don't be too much worried about discriminate, and it's not really commonly used. Okay, because it's not really ideal that we have two identical root letters standing side by side. And in that case, Hebrew verb normally use assimilation. 다기시포르테. So they don't normally double it. But germinative verb, as you just observe, sometimes they just take the same identical consonant. That's why I'm saying it's not really common. But anyway, you need to understand that it's possible for Hebrew verb to have this type of germinative verb. Okay, that's it. Teacher Labaya,
Yeah.
maybe we can just give two more from this.
Yes. They can do number 1 and 2, page 228. Page 228, number 1 and 2.
Number 1
and 2. I
2.
think that should be okay.
So you have a 5. Okay, that's fair then. So it's due tomorrow, okay?
Yeah.
Do you have any question today? So what is the summary of today's lesson? I can say germinative verbs are very tricky. That's all. Okay. Another lesson, before you give up, try germinate. And generally speaking, it follows the hollow verb pattern. I think I can say that, but it has its unique style. Okay. So we are done here. And as I said, I will give you the study guideline for your final exam by next Tuesday. Is it clear? And one more time, you will not take any quizzes for your vocabulary and translation. Just be ready for your vocabulary quiz that will be conducted next Friday. And I will let you know what will be appearing in your final exam. Okay? By next Tuesday. Do you have any question? Okay, praise the Lord. Continue to worship God in your place by doing your daily routine, and then have a great expectation that God is going to use this Hebrew class for your future ministry. All right, may God continue to bless you. See you tomorrow. Okay, bye.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you,
God bless.
Thank
Professor.
you, Professor. See you.
Bye.